All right, guys, welcome back to a new video. Today, a new challenger appears in the form of Blaire White, who released a video today about me called Ethan Klein Thinks He's Smarter Than Jordan Peterson and Healthier Than Joe Rogan. Now, of course, anyone who's familiar with that, this is like the straw man that all the conservatives have been doing to try to invalidate valid points I've made. Let's see if she actually addressed any of the points I've made, or if it's just a more of the fat man bad, strong man good dialogue that we've seen over and over. Obviously, I never made any of those points. I don't think I'm stronger than Jordan Peterson or healthier than Joe Rogan. Something I can't get over, too, is how all these people use, like, obviously funny images I've taken of myself as some kind of own to show how unhealthy I am. But anyway, if you guys don't know who Blaire White is, she is a trans person who I would say she attacks other trans people. Okay, let's just be straight up. She defends people like J.K. Rowling, who are straight up TERFs. And actually, one of her biggest controversies was attacking a trans athlete and lying about her, saying that she was competing against biological women and like taking huge dubs on tournaments. And she turned it into a whole kind of talking point about how, you know, you hear this all the time in conservative circles. Trans athletes are ruining sports. And anyway, she actually just lied about this trans athlete. And I actually think she's just a bad person. Like, I'll just be straight up. I actually do. And I don't know what it is, but she very much gives me pick-me girl vibes. She's the kind of person who's like, she wants to be part of the club on the right wing. So she goes, listen, I may be trans, but I'm one of the good ones, guys. I'm not into all this woke stuff, like wanting to use a women's bathroom and all that. I don't know if she actually believes that. I'm just being facetious. But she does. She is basically made her career criticizing other trans people and being like, I'm one of the good ones. Like, here, let's look at all of her top ones. I regret transitioning. Heated debate with a trans predator. Exposing Jessica Yaniev, trans predator. Like, this is kind of her bread and butter. So, here we go. Pick me girl. By the way, she posted this on Instagram. No comments disabled. Very nice. Here's the thumbnail she chose. Sure, buddy. Yeah, I love that, dude. Yeah, Ethan says he's stronger than Joe Rogan and smarter than Jordan Peterson. Well, that's just a pathetic title, isn't it? I mean, look at the size of Joe's nipple, bro. Ain't no way I'm competing with that. All right, well, let's take a look. What do you guys say? Let's see. I'm sure this is going to be a rational, measured take on everything I had to say about Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. So, there you go. Not like other girls. Blaire White, please love me, conservative daddies. I'm not like all the other ones.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm feeling very virginal in this outfit today. I'm feeling very much like, you know, a bride being given off to her husband, or a bride of Chucky, depending on if you fucking hate me. Let's get into it. Ethan Klein, also known as H3H3, which sounds like a highly infectious.
Let me go. Here, I'm just going to make a prediction right out the gate. She's going to be like, you know, H3H3, who I used to like before he got woke. Wait for it, dude.
STD has been going off recently on two particular individuals, Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan. We're going to split this video into two halves. The first half talking about his attacks, although I would say they're more like brutal self-owns.
Oh, I can't wait to hear how their brutal self-owns
launched toward Jordan Peterson, and the second half will be his brutal self-owns on Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan went off on Jordan Peterson on Twitter recently, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I have chafing just from reading these tweets. Okay. He also went back and deleted videos of an interview he did with Jordan Peterson from years back, in my opinion, out of the fear of being canceled by his own woke audience.
Again, people say that. There's literally no proof of that. Nobody was asking me to erase it. They've been up for a long time. A lot of people even disagreed in my own community, like, hey, you didn't have to erase those. You should have left them up. This was my choice. I'm not getting canceled for leaving the the podcast up. Don't be ridiculous, dude. Nobody expected me to erase those.
Which he does pander to, which he does and has cultivated throughout the years. Because Ethan, in my opinion, as sort of like a casual...
I love that. Having any conviction of any kind is pandering, right? Ooh. He's pandering. Yo, that dude thinks that people should have health care? He's pandering to the left.
Every once in a while viewer of his stuff is definitely one of those people who shapeshifts into whatever is trendy and socially acceptable at the time in terms of his content. He used to be way edgier, way more.
Love that. The old standard, you know, bring out my worst moment where I said offensive things on the podcast. Bring that right out the gate. I mean, that wasn't I wasn't trying to be. Yeah, I guess I was being edgy, but okay, fair enough. I used to be more edgy. That's true. But also, to be fair, all of YouTube used to be more edgy. But that's not to say that was not good edgy. That was just bad edgy. You know what I mean?
More anti-SJW, anti-woke, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to put on it. And now he's definitely the exact opposite. When it was more popular and trendy to be anti-SJW, edgy, whatever, you can bet your ass he was that. And now that it's more popular to be woke and super politically...
It's not more popular to be woke, okay? Joe Rogan has the most popular show in the world. Jordan Peterson is like, dude, everybody loves him, okay? This whole narrative that, like, I'm doing the popular thing is crazy. They just want to be the they want to be the underdog, but you guys aren't the underdogs anywhere. You guys are like the mainstream. Yeah. So if you actually are familiar with my content, you know that my politics never changed. I was making fun of social justice warriors who everyone was making fun of. You know, you look back at the Czarnist stuff, that was objectively funny. And I've explained this many times. Those people were wild. They were great fodder for commentary. And then when I realized I was cultivating a more kind of extreme reactionary audience is kind of when I pivoted. And it was painful, right? It was a painful separation. A lot of people unhappy. And you see even to this day, people like, oh, H3 used to be funny back when he was one of us. And basically that's kind of what this all stems from here today.
Opposite. When it was more popular and trendy to be anti-SJW, edgy, whatever, you can bet your ass he was that. And now that it's more popular to be woke and
now that it's more popular to be a white nationalist, and now that it's less now that it's less popular to be a white nationalist, he totally believes in free democracy.
Super politically correct, you can bet your ass he's that. Yeah. And these types of people always give the excuse of, well, I've evolved, I've grown, I've learned more. It's funny how they always...
Oh, I've learned, I've evolved. How pathetic. Nobody's allowed to change ever. As everybody well knows, a wise man never changes his mind.
Evolve, grow, and learn more in the exact direction that gets them more popularity or is...
How dare someone... Yeah. Oh... How dare somebody evolve and learn and grow more towards progressive and social issues, dude? That's not a natural, that's not the natural effect of things, is it? I've learned, I've grown to become more hateful, less inclusive. Yes, you hear that all the time, don't you, Blaire?
More socially acceptable, never in the opposite way. Like, they never all of a sudden have more controversial opinions or become more edgy.
Why?
It's always with the wind. You know what I mean? So anyway, Ethan
That's
tweeted,
literally definition of progress. Okay, just to be clear. Conservatives always lose. Progress is the winds of change, my friend. Without progress, without liberalism, we'd have slaves. Okay? Just be straight up. Women wouldn't be allowed to vote. That's just the way it is, dude. It's called progress. You know what conservatives are? Reactionaries. They want the status quo by their own definition. Okay? I've always been a progressive. And that's what can I tell you? Okay? I'm sorry I didn't turn into a white nationalist like you, lady. I don't know if she's a white nationalist, but you know, that's what it all kind of, the undertones you always get in these conservative movements. Let's just be frank here, guys.
So anyway, Ethan tweeted, years ago, I interviewed Jordan Peterson before I was very familiar with his politics. He was an interesting guest who I enjoyed sitting with. So right off the bat, This is just a lie. Jordan Peterson, at the time that Ethan interviewed him, was only popular for his takes on trans issues, which are definitely perceived to be controversial by.
Yeah, so her saying this is a lie is basically just her having, okay, I'll explain, but I mean, no, I didn't know anything about his politics. First of all, Jordan Peterson was a very popular speaker. He was making his tour all around podcasts and YouTubers getting huge views. People were talking about him. The honest truth is that Moses was a huge fan of Jordan's. I didn't know anything about him, and I think he was listening to him on Joe Rogan. He's like, hey, you should reach out to this guy, Jordan Peterson. I was looking for guests, for interesting guests. He said, you should see if this guy, Jordan Peterson, will come on your show. I said, okay. I tweeted him right there on the spot, and Jordan responded. He said, sure, I'll come on the show. And people were really excited in my tweet, too. There was just a lot of enthusiasm. So I said, okay, cool, let's do this. I actually didn't know anything about his politics until much later on.
People who are more left of center. So this was literally his claim to fame. Jordan Peterson became known because of his.
Actually, you know what? She's right. She's right on this point. I should have done more research and familiarized myself with him before bringing him on the show. So I could have at least challenged him on things that I disagreed with him on. And that's part of the reason why I removed those podcasts, is because there was no challenging. There was no. It was basically just him platforming himself in the rosiest colored way possible. So actually, she's right in the wrong way. I didn't know anything about his politics, but I should have. So I guess she's right and wrong at the same time.
Opposition to Bill C-16 in Canada, which we can do a whole video about Bill C-16.
I love, yeah, this is the pick-me attitude of her. I'm one of the good ones. Yeah, dude, that bill that was like trying to protect trans people from hate crimes, that was terrible. Yeah.
But the long and short of it was, Jordan Peterson's perspective was that people would start being fined or jailed for misgendering people, for using the wrong pronouns, and the opposite side believed it was just a bill that was to increase the human rights of trans people. That's the long and short of it. So this is what he was known for at the time.
That's a fair assessment.
Ethan had to have known that this is what he was known for, was controversial takes on trans issues. So,
you know, that's a fair conclusion. I'll give it to her. It's not true, but it's a fair conclusion.
This, like, I didn't know anything about him. Like, first of all, you probably shouldn't be interviewing people you know nothing about. And second of all,
right,
that was the only thing people did know about him at the time. So
that's not true. Well, actually, she's right. I got to admit, she's right on this point. No, Jordan had become a prolific speaker in his own right by that time. I agree. That's what made him famous, but I think I interviewed him like a year or even 2 years after that whole controversy.
What the f are you talking about? The truth is, he was fully aware of Jordan Peterson's politics. He just wanted the massive.
Now she's just making like weird, wild assumptions about what I didn't and did not know, as someone who clearly doesn't even watch the show or know me very well.
Amount of views that this interview was going to bring him, and it did. And to this day, any interview Jordan Peterson does is going to get a massive amount of views. He is a very popular man. So you wanted the views, you wanted the money.
He is very popular. I love him. Please love me, Daddy Jordan. That's true. You know, it was more popular than I anticipated. But if I cared so much, why would I erase them now? They're still like, I'll be honest, they're still two of our top most viewed episodes. People love those episodes, you know. And part of the shame is that, like, as they were, because we didn't talk about politics or anything controversial, they were great in terms of like psychological insightfulness and self-help and stuff like that, and relationship advice. There was a lot of great information there. My problem with them was that someone would watch the video and be like, this guy's awesome, and then go to Twitter and see him being like, telling Justin Trudeau, over my dead body will I get a booster shot, and like much worse stuff.
Money. But of course you don't have the integrity to say that. You're going to lie and say, well, I didn't know much about him. Girl, bye. He goes on to say, but especially now, I can see he's a dangerous gateway to alt-right, transphobia, and COVID misinfo. I removed both interviews today. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the man who ran a podcast with Trisha Paytas is clutching his pearls over harmful speech.
Yeah, okay, so obviously Trisha Paytas is an offensive person. She is not a thought leader. Nobody is watching Frenemies and then going to Trisha and then being like, I want to follow her. Trisha doesn't have dogma. She's not, you know what I mean? She's not leading anyone anywhere. People know that Trisha is bad and has bad thoughts and bad opinions. I mean, that's part of what was entertaining about it. So that analogy falls flat for me. People go to Jordan Peterson to follow him. I mean, the guy's practically a cult leader. So, no, nice try. Bye, sister, or whatever she said. Bye, girl, or I don't know, whatever you said. Back to you. Whatever you say sticks to you and not me. Got him.
Hitler can't be all bad if he had this big following.
Found out about the Holocaust?
I had no idea.
I really love movies and books about the Holocaust.
What's the stereotype about Jews? Like, my cheap Jew boyfriend with a big nose. I don't say that.
Jewish people are cheap.
But again, he didn't care because...
By the way, regularly challenged and called her out. I wasn't just, she wouldn't come on and say all this anti-Semitic stuff and I'd be like, oh, interesting, fascinating. Yes, no, I regularly challenged her, called her out, exposed her for those horrible takes. So again, falls flat on its face. Bye, girl.
Because Trisha was making him a lot of money because at the time she was in the public's favor. So not only does this condemnation of Jordan Peterson that no one asked for, by the way.
No, what do you mean? I only talk when spoken to? I'm sorry, that's only for you, nice girl. You only talk when spoken to by Daddy Jordan and Rogan. You only give opinions that are authorized by the collective there. No, unfortunately, Blaire, I don't always wait for requests to express myself. In fact, if I did, I probably wouldn't have a career. Bye, girl.
Like, no one was trying to cancel him for it.
You just self-reported. Nobody was trying to cancel him. And yet I spoke my mind. I did what in my consciousness was the right thing. Self-report, you just contradicted yourself. You said Ethan was just doing what everyone wanted him to do and appease the woke culture. But also, nobody was asking for this. Okay, so which is it? Bye, girl.
Not only does it make Ethan look about as spineless as a jellyfish, his attacks on Peterson are also just not valid. First of all, if Jordan Peterson is the greatest sin.
If it's not valid, if you want to say that, you better show, because Jordan Peterson asked me for examples and I gave 4 very specific answers. So you better show those or you're a coward. Let's see.
If Jordan Peterson is the gateway to being alt-right or being hateful, which by the way, I didn't know it was 2016. We were still using terms like alt-right, but okay.
Alt-right. That's totally relevant term. Am I not allowed to say that anymore? Sorry.
If someone as frankly apolitical as Jordan Peterson, because if you...
Apolitical? Oh, stop. Come on, dude. That's so stupid.
Watch his content, he is almost always apolitical. He speaks to people on the right wing. I know that's such a scary thing. He definitely... engages with them.
He was more apolitical at the time. I mean, when I interviewed him, but now he's gone full right-wing conspiracy rabbit hole. So you're just flat out wrong on that one.
But his actual content in his lectures are almost always, with some exceptions, apolitical. The majority of what Peterson talks about is self-help, self-improvement, getting your life together.
Where would we be without men and enforced monogamy? We have to force these damn women. They want high quality men. We need to force them to date 3s when they really want 8s.
Together, philosophy, psychology, and he dips into politics sometimes, but to act as if that's the whole sum of who and what he does, and then to say that it's radicalizing people or some sort of gateway, we can just as easily say, Ethan, that you're a gateway towards what? Far leftism, communism, radicalism on the other side. Why is it only true?
Say that about me if you want. Doesn't bother me. It's not true, but it doesn't offend me. Okay, yeah, say it. I mean, what the hell? There's no studies showing that. There's literally studies showing that Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan are gateways to the alt-right. Straight up. Dude, look it up. All these straight white nationalists, people who go up and with weapons and do crimes in that way. They're like, what was the last podcast you listened to? Jordan Peterson.
Ever of people right of center, that they're too radical. And if Jordan Peterson is a gateway towards hate, what the fuck is this? And I want to be very...
Here we go. The same thing. Me making an offensive statement is a gateway to the alt-right. Nice job, dude. Pathetic.
Clear that this was obviously done in a comedic context. I'm not one of those people that thinks that context does not matter.
Really? Because that's the second time you've showed it. Pathetic attempt to make a bad comparison.
When it comes to slurs or curse words or whatever, obviously he's not calling someone that.
Thank you for okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I have learned. I know I'm not allowed to learn, Blaire. I've actually learned and grown. I know that's a cardinal sin in the conservativeship, but it's true. You know, certainly wouldn't do that today, and I understand that what I did was horrible. I don't think it's a gateway to anything, though. It's not a platform I have.
Comedic context. I'm not personally mad, but going by your own standards here, if the benign, apolitical, self-help stuff Jordan Peterson does is a gateway to hate, then again, how can you claim that isn't? And perhaps Ethan's apologized for this, and if so, he definitely deserves to be forgiven. However,
nice research.
You just can't throw stones in a glass.
So if I've ever done anything offensive, then I can never criticize anybody else ever. That's the argument, right? You said this offensive words, 5 years ago. You've erased it. You've apologized many times. You've donated. You've educated yourself. You've done everything you can to improve yourself. So you can never criticize anybody else ever as long as you live. Nice logic.
House. Let's move on to the transphobia accusation. He said that he's a gateway to transphobia, right? He said, your mischaracterization of Bill C-16 resulted in a surge of transphobia. The bill was created to add trans people as a protected group against hate crimes. Using the wrong pronoun would not result in anyone going to jail. In fact, to this day, 0 people have gone to jail. So don't even get me started with who is responsible for a surge in transphobia, because I have a pretty long list of people that Ethan would probably consider to be political allies that are actually responsible for people becoming annoyed or hateful towards trans people. Who? And I know he would never condemn them because they're on his side politically. Because again,
say it. Let's hear it.
No concept that anyone on his side of the political aisle could be doing anything wrong. Not to mention,
how are you going to say something like that? Like, oh, well, his friend, people he agrees with are the real reason transphobia exists, and then not say the names? What kind of argument is this? Pathetic.
People have been put in jail for misgendering in Canada. You have here a Canadian man jailed for calling his biologically female child as daughter. And is that something that's widespread?
Okay, we got to fact check that. Okay, surprise, surprise. Blaire Witch is doing conservative propaganda. She's a liar. I found the article. She's just a liar. Okay, that article is just so pathetically misleading. The father was thrown in jail for repeatedly violating a court's order. A ABC father who objected to his teenager's child gender transition therapy was arrested on Tuesday and put in jail until Friday for repeatedly speaking publicly about aspects of the case. The father, known as CD, has been charged with criminal contempt of allegedly violating court orders and is being held in custody until a bailed hearing on Friday. The criminal charges is one that, if found guilty, could send him to jail for 5 years. The case stems from the CD's battle to prevent his child, AB, from receiving gender transition hormone therapy. But what began as a family court dispute now wound up in criminal charges due to allegations that the father persisted in violating court orders. The orders instructed him not to make public any information that would identify his child or the medical professionals involved, to call his child by the child's preferred name and gender pronouns, and not to share his opinions of the case publicly. The British Columbia Court of Appeal laid out the court orders that the dad was to abide by in January, and since then, the prosecutor's service alleges he has failed to do so on multiple accounts. In June, the father gave an interview on a YouTube channel where he allegedly gave out identifying healthcare providers, revealed information about the daughter's mental health or the child's mental health, medical status or treatment, and gave out information that could reveal who the person was and the mother's identity. He was charged with contempt of court. You're such a fucking liar. You are a pathetic propagandist liar. Dude, are you fucking serious right now? How pathetic can you be? Shame on you. Look at this headline. Let me show this. Look at this headline she's showing. Canadian man jailed for calling his biological feminine baby as daughter. That's a lie. He was charged for contempt of court, violating court orders many times. Blaire Witch, I expect a correction. You fucking propagandist liar. Shame on you. And by the way, I knew this was a fake story when I saw it. Because all you got to do is stop and think and say, hey, that doesn't make sense. But because it backs your narrative, you're not really into doing that, are you?
Daughter.
Dumbass.
And is that something that's widespread? No. However,
is that even something that's true? No.
If you're going to make the claim that 0 people have been jailed for misgendering in Canada, there's one right there. So
well, no, because actually that never happened. Bye, girl.
You're just factually incorrect with that as well.
Oh, you're a fucking liar. I just burned you. You better be apologizing. Where's the correction? We want a correction from Blaire. Bye, girl. Take the L this time.
He also accused Jordan Peterson of spreading COVID misinfo. Let's move on to that part of the accusation. So this happened after Jordan Peterson actually defended Joe Rogan after a
no, bro, it's literally from looking at his Twitter.
List of 270 doctors condemned him for COVID misinformation, which, by the way, almost the word misinformation is almost always code for information I don't like, by the way. But
yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Just information you don't like. Let's see, like information I don't like. Let's see. What about 5G causing COVID? Is that information you don't like, or is that misinformation? Let me know what you think, Blaire.
That. However, he was absolutely right to defend Joe Rogan because, as it turns out, only 87 of those 270 doctors were actually doctors. The list was full of consultants, veterinarians, a social worker, podcast hosts, and some.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this study. I don't really care about it. Just go to his Twitter. It's obvious. The dude's straight up going, Justin Trudeau, over my dead body while I take a booster. I mean, the dude is unhinged. Stop.
Doctors, yes, but clearly it's just an attempt to slander Joe Rogan. It's just a baseless attack to say 270 doctors united against him, when in fact...
I don't care about that study. I didn't talk about that study. Okay? So, nice straw man. I did say, actually, I showed a tweet of him going, Jordan going, scientists. Okay, so whatever. I don't care about the study. That's not why I think he's spreading COVID misinfo.
Correct. So Jordan Peterson was objectively correct to defend Joe Rogan in that situation. And COVID misinfo coming from Ethan Klein is pretty rich, considering he said that the protests in the summer of 2020 didn't contribute at all to COVID, which you can agree with the protests.
Pretty incredible she dug that up. That tweet was up for like an hour. You know, there was a lot of studies at the time that said... Basically, it was really interesting, right? There was these massive protests in the street during like really bad COVID. And there was a lot of studies coming out that like, first of all, it was outdoors. This was like the alpha COVID. So it was outdoors. A lot of the people were masked. So it was not it wasn't the good conditions to be spreading. And another weird effect of these massive protests is that more people were staying at home. So it turns out that there actually was not an increase in COVID due to the protests. But anyway, you know, I erased this tweet after about an hour, and because I was like, I'm not 100% on this. I'm not sure that I stand by this tweet 100%. So I erased it. So I don't think that's proof. I erased it. So what do you want from me? Where did you even dig that up from?
And you can be on the side of the protest, but you can't deny that in the midst of a tens of thousands of people getting
that was the conservative talking point, right? They're like, well, you guys can go protest outside with masks, but you can't tell us to have like mega rallies indoors where masks are banned. You know, you can't tell us to not sit in tiny packed spaces of churches and sing. Sorry. But, I mean, she's right? Probably gathering wasn't a good idea. That's why I erased the tweet.
Close contact in every major city in the country didn't really affect anything. Like, really? Really?
Dude, I erased the tweet. Who are you arguing against? Like, are you going to mention that I erased it?
But we know when it's...
No, of course not.
politically convenient. Your side can do literally anything. We got it. So
Yeah, we got it. You know what she does? She picks out, like, she finds, I've made a whole totality of arguments that I've put forth. She finds the weakest, I'm not going to say weakest, but the ones that are easiest to address with, like, this tweet, and he's a hypocrite, and this study that he didn't care about. She doesn't address anything else. She just finds the ones that are, like, easiest to address to make it seem like she got a dub. Sad, pathetic. Bye, girl.
So you can poke holes in Ethan's arguments all day long, as we've been doing, but what does all this really mean, right? It means, like I said, first of all, he is afraid of his own woke audience canceling him, so he's trying to, in my opinion, get ahead of it and condemning him and saying, look, I don't actually support Jordan Peterson anymore, please don't cancel me, which
Nobody cares, dude.
again, spineless. And I have to just say, on a human level,
Spineless. I mean, you got to acknowledge that me erasing those and saying it and standing by my principles brought down a hellstorm of psychotic conservatives against me, as I expected it would. It was actually more than I expected. So I wouldn't exactly call that spineless. What I would call spineless is whatever docile attempt you are making to try to fit in with your daddy conservatives.
Jordan Peterson didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve
No! Jordan didn't deserve it. You guys, he didn't. Oh, poor Jordan. Poor Jordan Peterson, he didn't deserve it, most of all. Oh, my God, you guys. We have to protect Jordan.
deserve these attacks from Ethan.
No.
Jordan Peterson, from everything that I can see, seems like a genuinely very nice man.
Deserve it. We must protect him. He's so helpless. We got to put him on the pedestal. We have to keep him. We have to put him in a sealed bubble. Oh, I have to run defense for him. Everybody does.
Who helps a lot of people and has changed a lot of people's lives for the better. There's a huge problem in society, and people have to have such blinders on to ever see someone like Jordan Peterson as extreme. It's the same as people who call me far right. I did a stream with Joe Rogan on
You are far right. Sorry.
Timcast a few months ago, and
I saw
I
it.
think it was Vice wrote an article calling me far right.
You are-
If you think, I'm going to speak in third person and kind of just invoke the sort of like public perception there is of me, like the sort of
For someone who's not far right, you pretty much parrot every single point they do, so could have fooled me.
public figure version of my being, right? If you think Blaire White is far right, you have an extremely childlike view.
Okay, if you say so. I mean, based on what? Things you haven't said publicly?
An ignorant view of the actual opinions people on the actual far right hold. If you think I'm far right or Jordan Peterson is extreme, like you have no clue. And that's
Unsupported claims. Nice. Very persuasive.
okay if you don't have any clue, but stop slandering people because you don't have
slander.
So moving on to his attack
We have to protect Jordan against slander.
on Joe Rogan. So Joe, as of late, has
Yes, the classic fat man bad, strong man good. Let's see where this goes. By the way, let's just acknowledge that the coward Blaire White did not acknowledge anything else. She did not acknowledge the "I'd rather die over my dead body" tweet. She did not acknowledge the conversion therapy tweet. She did not acknowledge the forced monogamy. So basically addressed 1/5 of my argument that I made against Jordan. Nicely done.
been hosting doctors on his podcast and having questions and conversations about vaccines that honestly are just not questions and conversations you see in mainstream media, which unfortunately is the lens. And
Yeah, because he gets the doctors that are hawking like hydrochloroquine or whatever the new fake medicine is that's making them money. Yeah.
the standards by which most people see the world. So he's had Dr. Robert Malone on, who is a virologist and the chief architect of the mRNA technology, as well as
Oh yeah, that's the guy who's like, I invented mRNA, and let me tell you, it is gonna kill everybody. I don't know. And then this goon here. Oh, I forget, but he had some really crazy takes too.
his cardiologist Peter McCullough and
Cardiologist, what happened? Weren't you just criticizing the list of people that like 240 doctors, and you're like, some of them were dentists? What is a cardiologist? qualify to talk about viruses.
And he's having conversations. He's asking questions. The gist, if you watch Joe Rogan's show, you would know that he doesn't claim to be any sort of expert on vaccines or viruses or anything. He simply asks questions. In fact, I went to one of his shows recently here in Austin, and he opened up by saying how stupid it was that people really saw him as some sort of health expert, that you have to be an idiot.
I went to his show, and I was in the front row, and I was going, Daddy Rogan, please. I don't think trans athletes should compete. Pick me too. I think J.K. Rowling needs to be defended at all costs. We must protect Jordan. Pick me. I'm one of the good ones.
To take health advice from him because he isn't an expert. He's simply having conversations, which in a sane world should be allowed. Joe has never once told people to not get vaccinated.
It's not allowed. He has the biggest show in the world, being paid over $100 million from things I've heard. What do you mean it's not allowed? It's clearly allowed. What's not allowed, apparently, according to her and people like her, is any measure of criticism against them. They're trying to cancel him. Shut up, dude. By the way, when I say dude, I'm using that colloquially. I don't want people to be like, he's being transphobic. I call everybody dude. Okay, just want to make that clear. Sorry. I saw it coming.
Vaccinated. And we talked about this even when I was on his show. He's never told anyone that. He's simply said that each individual person should have the freedom and autonomy to make their own decisions about their own bodies and health based on their own risk-benefit analysis.
I totally agree with that, actually. Totally agree. What's weird is that they can't actually follow that through all the way to what their beliefs are. I don't believe people should be forced to get the vaccine. I don't. I'm American. I believe people have the freedom to choose what goes in their body, 100%. What I also believe is that schools, businesses can decide that they want to protect their employees, protect themselves, protect their business, and say, you got to get vaccinated if you want to come in here. So you, Blaire White, if you don't want to get the vaccine, that's fine. I don't want to send stormtroopers into your house and tie you down and and shoot you up with vaccine. But if, Costco says we don't let anyone in who's not vaccinated, then I also support that. That's what it is. But they won't allow that other aspect. They want the freedom for themselves, but not for other people.
Which, again, in a sane world, would not be radical, would not be something people should be attacking anyone for.
I don't attack anyone. I agree with that.
He's always advocated, talk to your doctor and do what's right for you.
Okay, when are you going to stop simping for Joe Rogan and talk about how I'm wrong?
In the meantime, I have questions. Questions should not be a sin. Questions should not be censored. We are living in a very terrifying time.
Dude, literally the most popular show in the world. This is part of like the victim complex where they're trying to convince the world and themselves, really. They like this narrative that they're the underdog and they're being censored and the world's out to them. Meanwhile, while having the biggest platforms, getting the biggest paychecks, who exactly is censoring you?
Time when you are not allowed to question things.
You're allowed. You're doing it right now, dude.
Who has in the past begged.
Oh my God. Dude, she's taking the dumbest, cheapest shots. Of course she removed the date, by the way.
To do his podcast, which is so typical of these very woke creators, by the way. I have a list of about 10 to 20 people.
Do you literally are going to cut the date out? All right. Actually, I erased all my old tweets, so I didn't even know what this was, but it must have been like 5 years ago. Literally 5 years ago, before COVID, before all this, before he moved to Texas and went down the rabbit hole of radicalism. So, dude, this means nothing. This literally means nothing. The fact that you would bring this up and remove the date is just another pathetic attempt. Lowest hanging fruit. Sad, dude.
That sort of side of the YouTube sphere who have in the past asked me multiple times to come on their channel, work with them, kiss my ass, whatever. I
don't want you on my show. Don't worry.
And then 6 months later, have an I Hate Blaire White video.
Yeah, she goes, they were begging me to come on the show. And then 6 months later made a video about me. This was probably 5 years ago. You literally cut the date out. I mean, shame on you. You are actually a propagandist. Also, somebody inviting you to be on their show and then making a video about you 6 months later doesn't necessarily contradict itself. People can want to have you on to talk about problems they have with you. So sorry that you say that to comfort yourself, but it's not necessarily true.
Typical behavior of these little chihuahuas that want to bite at people's ankles and then...
Aren't you that?
So his attacks on Joe went as followed. Joe Rogan, who lives on elk meat, egg yolk, and human growth hormone with lungs full of tar, thinks he's healthier than everyone. First of all, that's like something a 5-year-old would say. You think you're healthier than everyone. He's never said anything as stupid as that.
What? He literally, that's like one of his main talking points these past year is about how fat people are going to die anyway. Just take care of yourself and you don't have to worry about it. Sorry, but you're wrong. That actually is one of his talking points.
Maybe that's how your brain perceives it because you might be stupid,
God.
Ethan.
She
Elk meat
so
is healthy.
dumb.
Egg yolk is healthy. And human growth hormone
is healthy. Yeah, elk meat and egg yolk are, I guess, yeah, they're healthy in moderation, not for every meal. I mean, what the hell are we kidding ourselves here?
Talked about being on TRT, you talked about taking hormones. I take hormones. I'm a very healthy person. Lots of people take hormones.
Dude, I'm talking about... Come on. Seriously, Blaire? I'm assuming Blaire is referring to... She probably has medical grade testosterone, or I don't know what kind of hormones she's referring to that people who are transitioning get from their doctors. Joe Rogan is on steroids and human growth hormone. Those are very different substances than what trans people take during a transition.
Menopausal women, men, trans women, trans men.
Dude, human growth hormone literally increases the size of your heart. I'm pretty sure that whatever you take to transition doesn't increase the size of your heart and your lungs and your organs that are bursting out of your body. Like, not all, you can't be like, I take hormones, so therefore all hormones aren't unhealthy. What kind of argument is that? Some stuff is healthy, some stuff is fine, some stuff is safe. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can take.
Something tells me that if he were criticizing me, he wouldn't include my use of hormones.
My God, dude. Seriously? Do you take human growth hormone?
In the attacks on me?
Of course not.
So why would you do it to...
Of course not, because it's not a valid excuse. Of course I wouldn't do that. Why would I do that? That's not valid.
Joe? Why is it okay for someone like me to be on hormones, but not Joe?
Because...
And the implication that elk meat and egg yolk is unhealthy, like, what do you live on?
I never claimed to be healthy. Here we go, fat man bad.
And chicken nuggets?
Yep.
Joe Rogan doesn't think he's healthier than everyone, but anyone with a set of 2 working eyes could see he's much healthier than you.
Fat man bad. When did I ever say I was healthier than Joe Rogan? When? Point it out. Nobody said it. That's a red herring. It's a straw hat. It's another fallacy. All the fallacies. Combine them all the fallacies, and that's what you get. You get Blaire White.
Ethan. And if you think that sounds mean, why is it mean when people question Ethan's health, but not mean when they question Joe's? Is it because Ethan...
Well, because the reason that you're questioning my health has nothing to do with what I actually said, right? I didn't say I'm healthy. I didn't say healthy at every size or anything like that. I said Joe Rogan is so quick to criticize fat people, but he's not one that's in spectacular health. You know, everyone act like he is the perfect model of perfect health. He's just not. He works out a lot. That's the point. You calling me fat or whatever is literally besides the point and has nothing to do with anything I said. That's why. Not that I care. Just answering your question.
Really is unhealthy, and y'all know in your heart that Joe isn't? Exactly. And who gives a shit if Ethan is unhealthy? I don't care what he eats. I don't care how he lives his life. His lifestyle has no effect on me. However, again, you cannot throw rocks in a glass house.
Oh my God, dude. She really thinks she's so clever. I never said I was healthier. Okay.
And I'm not taking health advice from either Joe Rogan or Ethan Klein because neither one of them are my doctor. However, if I had to pick one of them to be my doctor, it would definitely not be this one.
All right, well, I'm not volunteering, so don't worry.
He went on to say, this MFer is such a bitch that when he got COVID, he threw the kitchen sink at it. If you're so healthy, just write it out like you say a man should. Again, he's never said that.
Bullshit.
He's never.
You are a liar. He has said that kind of shit so many times. He literally said on his podcast, someone said, do you think young people should get the vaccine? And Joe Rogan literally said, if you're young and healthy, no, I don't think you should get the vaccine. So what does that mean, Blaire? If he doesn't think you should get the vaccine, if you're young and healthy, then what exactly are you supposed to do when you catch COVID? Go to your private doctor that has a laboratory full of experimental drugs like Joe Rogan did? He literally said, ride it out.
Never said that. He's never said anything as stupid as men should ride out COVID.
Well, I hate to tell you, but he pretty much has, so.
It's like there's a filter on Ethan's brain that he can only perceive like the most childlike caricatures of people he's beefing with. Like, and should we constitute what Ethan is saying here as COVID misinfo? Because vaccinated or not, when you do contract COVID or any sickness, a common cold, you are supposed to throw the kitchen sink at it. You're supposed to take vitamin D.
If you're supposed to throw the kitchen sink at it, then why not get vaccinated? You know what I mean? Vaccinations are free, readily available, and you don't need a private doctor with like a, you know, with a whole laboratory of drugs. Because they're not doing the most important and the most obvious thing and the most humane thing. I do think you should throw the kitchen sink at it. But Joe Rogan's like, don't get vaccinated. And then all of a sudden, when he gets sick, he has his private doctor come and give him experimental drugs. Stop it. It's ridiculous.
Zinc, vitamin C, eat healthy. Like, why is that something to attack someone about? Like,
you're totally and intentionally and ridiculously misrepresenting and missing the point. It's so bad.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What
For
the
you
fuck?
to demonize throwing in the kitchen sink and taking vitamins. Like, are you putting people at risk, Ethan? Are people going to read your tweets and think that it's a bad idea to take vitamins when they're sick with
Oh my God, dude. You can't actually believe that that's anything there in my tweet.
anything, by the way? And tar in his lungs. Joe doesn't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, we had a whole debate about this on the podcast. I don't know why the dude literally smokes weed on every episode of the podcast. Weed has like 4 times more tar in it than cigarettes if you combust it or vape it or anything. Why does everyone act like smoking weed doesn't put tar in your lungs? It puts some more tar in your lungs. This is not rocket science.
And if it's a dig about smoking weed, then we're demonizing weed too? Like,
no! I'm not demonizing weed. I'm just making a point, a very easy to understand, clear point that you are intellectually either too dishonest or too stupid to actually register.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Of course I'm not demonizing weed. That is just so dumb.
Things Ethan Klein has no concept of: eating healthy, smoking weed, taking vitamins.
Yeah.
Good to know. What this all really comes down to is I genuinely feel bad for anyone, especially like kids who are watching Ethan Klein or reading his tweets and thinking in any way that this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about.
About the kids. We have to think about the kids watching Ethan. He says taking vitamins is bad.
Almost anything. Because I haven't seen one thing in all the tweets I've read for him, one even like small aspect of what he says that has any validity or truth behind it.
Okay. Explain to me why conversion therapy is a good thing. Go ahead. I'll wait for your next video. Because Jordan Peterson said conversion therapy is moral grandstanding. So I eagerly await you to defend that.
You almost have to try this hard to be wrong. Like, a normal person is like accidentally wrong about things. Ethan is almost intentionally like, I'm just going to pick the worst possible takes.
Take it from the person that turns off comments, erases dates, take things out of context, puts words in my mouth, continually argues against non-arguments, straw man arguments. There's nothing here.
I'm going to say the exact opposite of what is true, and I'm going to completely mischaracterize everyone. And honestly, when exactly did it become the standard that rather than countering someone's speech, debunking them, proving them wrong, when did that switch to, Actually, we have to silence our opponent's speech. We have to censor them. We have to erase them. We have to pretend as if they didn't say it rather than say something back to them.
When did I do that? That's part of this victim narrative. Everybody is censoring us, despite us having huge platforms and being paid millions on millions of dollars. Excuse me, it's my property. I can erase the freaking videos if I want. Period.
What you're really doing is actually proving that your ideas, your opinions, and your stances have no merit whatsoever. They can't stand up on their own. And honestly, Jordan Peterson is not the smartest person on the planet. Joe Rogan is not the healthiest person on the planet. But Jordan Peterson...
How do you know that? How dare you say Jordan Peterson is not the smartest person on the planet? How dare you? We need to defend him. We need to protect him. This is an outrageous attack.
Peterson is smarter than Ethan Klein.
Yeah, I agree. Probably true.
And Joe Rogan is healthier than Ethan Klein.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Never made those points.
And that's on period. Love you guys.
And that's on period. Well, girl, what can you say about a video this bad, folks? It's all bad. It's all pandering. It's all pathetic. Blaire White, I hope it's worth the views. Because, let's be honest, a lot of conservatives don't even think you should exist. So, enjoy living amongst people like that.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel as well as my second channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I post on there way more than I do on here. So you gotta follow those to keep up with me. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Wow. Good one. Well, pretty much what, you would expect, right? And there you have it. So that is Blaire White. This video, Ethan Klein thinks he's smarter than Jordan Peterson and Healthy and Joe Rogan. Very good. Very good stuff. Shout out. I'm curious to hear what she thinks about some of the things I've said. For example, that article about a dad going to jail for using the wrong pronoun on his daughter that turned out to be, how do I say this? Wrong. Fake news. Maybe you guys like to talk about fake news. Interesting. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. This was fun. See you next time.
Wow, Ethan, great moves. Keep it up.